I'm going to try to keep on top of this unconstitutional and simply evil war against Iran. We do have boots on the ground. There are American troops on the ground in Israel. So please pray without ceasing for our soldiers. There's a whole lot of countries involved in this. I think you can look no further than the Board of Peace. We need to keep on top of this and keep praying and know that the reason why American soldiers are in Israel is this. Because the ultra-Orthodox fake Jews are a bunch of cowards. They're frauds, they're thieves, they're murderers, they're cowards. Netanyahu tried to change the law, declaring that even the ultra-Orthodox are going to have to start participating in the draft because they were always exempt. Ever since 1948, that was the deal, that these Canaanites, Khazarians, whatever the hell they are, these demon spawn over there, haven't had to fight for a war. Not one of them, not one generation, not ever. So they send our sons and daughters to Israel because these ultra-Orthodox fake Jew cowards refuse to fight for their own families and homes. All right? Just want to make that clear before we start. Whew. The truth will set you free. I feel better already.
I want to bring us out to this live images that we continue to have over in Jerusalem, Israel. And this comes as just a few minutes ago, in fact, the Associated Press reporting that Hezbollah launched some 200 rockets at Israel's north and deeper into the country overnight. That's according to the Israeli military. Many rockets were intercepted and no serious injuries were reported. Now, sirens started blaring Wednesday evening across the north and continued almost nonstop for hours, warning of incoming attacks from Lebanon and Iran. The explosions and interceptions overheard were so loud that some people were dashing outside. They spoke to some residents down there on the ground in Israel. And I do want to get some more perspectives from the ground. So joining us next is going to be Alex Trayman. He is the CEO and Jerusalem bureau chief at the Jewish News Syndicate. Alex, good morning and thanks for joining.
Good morning, Carl.
So as you saw there, those strikes do continue on. A lot of these proxy groups, Iran as a whole, continuing to launch strikes in Israel. I want to get the overview sense as to what you're seeing on the ground. You are there based in Jerusalem.
Yes, well, Hezbollah seems to have entered the war in a maximum capacity right now, as you mentioned, firing 200 missiles at Israel in the last 24 hours or so. Iran also seemingly able to continue to launch ballistic missile salvos at Israel. There's been 4 launches since midnight already, and Israelis have been going in and out of shelters in what seems to be coordinated attacks now from Iran and Hezbollah into Israel.
Israel fires interceptors and responds with airstrikes deep inside Iranian territory. Each round pushes the conflict further for civilians across the region. The warning signs are becoming a daily reality as both sides intensify their operations. The skies over West Asia are turning into one of the most heavily contested battle zones in the world all over again. Bureau Report. Beyond, World is One.
Well, as the war widens in West Asia, Iran has released fresh visuals of its missile attack on Israel, US bases and Gulf countries. The images are of the moment of firing the Fateh 2 missile in what Iran calls as Operation Sadek Promise 4. Fateh 2, Iran's most advanced hypersonic missile. Fateh 2 has made its debut in the ongoing war against Israel. In fact, the missile is the better version of the original Fateh 1 that features a hypersonic guide vehicle warhead. 2 is capable of reaching terminal velocities between Mach 13 and 15. It has a range of approximately 1,400 to 1,500 kilometers, placing targets across the West Asia, which includes Israel and US regional bases within its reach. It carries an explosive warhead of roughly 200 kilograms. Iranian state media has also released footage purportedly showing scores of attack drones stockpiled in an underground bunker. The video shows a long tunnel with no visible end, lined with numerous drones and missiles. It first displays triangular-shaped drones lined up in one direction, resembling the Shahed 136, a domestically developed Iranian kamikaze drone. The ceiling of this tunnel is adorned with Iranian national flag. The footage also captures missiles in standby mode, with 4 missiles mounted per launcher vehicle. A photo of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, who was confirmed dead capabilities following the joint US-Israel airstrikes on the 28th last month. Iran even conducted. Let's talk about the war in West Asia that has erupted into a multi-front conflagration now, with missiles, drones, and airstrikes.
How many American deaths are you willing to have in this war?
Well, as I said before, when you have conflict, it's been a very big 2 days, I have to say. And we'll be heading back to Washington, D.C. right after this. And I'd like to wish everyone a very good evening. And over the weekend, the United States military and the Israeli Defense Forces continued Operation Epic Fury very successfully. And all of the people that died through the roadside bombs died and are right now walking around with no legs, no arms, a face that's been so...
That's enough.
But he's also laid out what he sees as a path to de-escalation. He said the only way to end this war, ignited by the Zionist regime and the US, is recognizing Iran's legitimate rights, payment of reparations, and firm international guarantees against future aggression. Shahram Abazadeh is the director of the Middle East Studies Forum at Deakin University. He joins us live from Melbourne. A very warm welcome to the program. So we've seen President Pezeshkian posting, what would we call it, peace conditions on social media. Let's go through it bit by bit. I mean, because he's asking for, firstly, a recognition of Iran's, quote, legitimate rights. What does he mean by that?
Well, thanks for having me. I think what we're seeing is a repetition of Iran's long-standing demands in relation to its right to develop its own nuclear program. For Iran, this is a matter of national sovereignty. Iran is party to NPT, and as a result, sees itself to have legitimate rights and claim to nuclear power. So that's primarily an old and existing demand by the authorities in Iran. So Pezeshkian is simply repeating that.
I mean, that must be like a red rag to a bull for the Americans right now, with Pezeshkian basically digging in his heels and saying, irrespective of all of the bombs that have been raining down on Tehran, we still maintain the right to nuclear energy and a defense program, a ballistic defense program, without fear of being destroyed.
Well, that's exactly right. I think Pezeshkian is, again, reiterating and repeating the hardline policies of Iran. This is what got Iran into this war in the first place. And that's why Iran is being punished by the US and Israel. And it does signify that the hardline policies of Iran are pretty much intact, and there has been no cracks in the regime to even question some of those really basic principles of the Iranian regime.
And another example of, as you say, the Iranian regime holding firm is this demand of payment of reparations. I mean, presumably demanding compensation, what, for the Americans and the Israelis for the huge damage to infrastructure?
Well, absolutely. There's been a lot of damage done to the Iranian infrastructure, not just defense and military, but civilian, as we have heard. So this is, in a way, a symbolic gesture to say that you have been the aggressor, you need to pay for it. You broke it, you pay for it.
Right. And lastly, the last point, international guarantees, presumably ironclad assurances that this won't happen again.
Well, this really speaks to the level of distrust that the Iranians have towards the United States. You have to remember that Iran was in talks with the United States twice over its nuclear program, and twice the United States just attacked Iran in the middle of talks. So even before this, the Iranian authorities were saying, how can we trust Trump? He tore up the nuclear deal that Obama had agreed on. How can we trust him now? So now this is a real statement of how deeply distrustful and suspicious of Trump and the US they are in Iran.
I was going to ask you whether you feel that there's a kind of good cop, bad cop thing going on at the moment with Masoud Pezeshkian offering this kind of olive branch of diplomacy while the IRGC continues to launch missiles and hit tankers. But what you've explained basically is that you feel that the entire leadership is coalescing around a hardline stance on how to prosecute this war.
That's absolutely right. I don't think there's a case of good cop, bad cop here. I think Pezeshkian showed a bit of remorse early on, a couple of days ago, when he apologized for Iran's attack on neighboring countries, but he was quickly corrected, and he has really come back in. He's been brought back to line. And the authorities are driving a hardline policy, especially with Mustafa Khamenei now as the supreme leader. The hardline policy has just been reaffirmed.
Okay. Shahram Akbarzadeh, Director of the Middle East Studies Forum at Deakin University. Many thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
March 10th, 2026, Israel and the U.S. attacked Iran on February 28th, following which Tehran launched retaliatory attacks against neighboring nations housing American bases. Countries like the UAE and Lebanon, among others, have been affected due to the constant firing. While Iran has reported more than 1,200 casualties, Israel states that 13 people have been killed. Iran's health ministry said on Monday that more than 1,200 people have been killed, including around 200 women and 200 children under the age of 12.